everybody, I'm Lulu from Plants by Lulu and welcome on my channel. Today I'm going to show you my cacti and succulent collection. If you haven't, please subscribe and join the Luluches. And if you hear background noise, that's from the construction site on my street. Okay, please bear with me because those names are hard to pronounce. The first one is an Euphorbia assurensis. Hi everyone, I was filming for the B-roll and I noticed this one has flowers. Look at them. They're so cute and so tiny. I think this is the everyday in your home kind of Euphorbia. It's very simple, he's elongated, he grows upwards. For me, this one represents the overhyped cacti in films and cartoons. This one reminds me of elongated cacti in a desert. And that's also the vibe with this one. I got the pot from my study association. It was a gift. And they painted the base. And so I really liked the base, but it was missing something. So I painted the details like the dots and the gold. And I really like it. The combination is one of my favorites. It's like dark, really dark green, elongated with a blue gold base on terracotta. So I just really like the combination. So the next one is Gymnocalcium Mihanovicii. And this one I got as a very small little bulb. And it was on my wish list for I think a year or two. And then I found it in a garden center in a small one without a proper tag. And I just took it with me. I searched a whole day on the internet for the name and this is what came up. And I just love the ruffles at the edge. I love the whole look. Often it's also called like a brain cactus. This one is in one of my favorite pots. I really like the look of it. I have a lot of boho planters, so this one is one of them. This is the smallest I have. The only thing I don't like is that there is a drainage hole at the bottom, but I don't have the tools and I don't want to buy the tools to close that hole. He dries up a lot faster than most of the other plants in smaller pots without a drainage hole. The next one is an Euphorbia grandicornis, and this one was a cutting from a bigger one. I had a very large one, but it didn't fit on the counter, and I want all my cacti and succulent by the window because in my experience that's the place where they all thrive the most. So he didn't fit anymore. He was too big and too chaotic, so I decided to cut him up and make cuttings, but it turns out he was so big that even with the cuttings, he was too big. So I decided to keep just one cutting and give the rest away to family and friends. This pot I thrifted and it was only terracotta color. And I painted the dots because I wanted to match this one with the colors of the other painted one. So I painted the dots and there are grooves at the bottom, so I also painted those grooves so there would be a lot of subtle color. The next one is called Eulycina castanea CV spiralis F spirale. And this one is small. I really wanted him a lot thicker because when a cactus is a little bit thicker, he will grow longer. He will appear eventually bigger and older, and that's the look I want to go for. So on the photo I got from the seller, it looked like this big, but in reality he was like this. So this one is small. I really love the shape. He is quite straight. I also have seen a lot that are a little bit crooked or have a lot of cracks in them, and this one does not have them, so I'm really lucky with that. But if in the future there comes one on the market which is not too expensive and that one is quite a lot bigger, then I will buy that one because I want to go for an overall bigger look, and that begins with a wider base. So this pot I found at a thrift store and he looks like the smallest pot with the drainage hole that I have, but this one does not have a drainage hole and is a little bit wider at the top so I can give water more easily. So this one I really Like, I think the pattern on it will tie beautiful in with the other smaller one and 2 other bigger ones. So that's why I bought it. Then onto the next one. This one is the famous white ghost Euphorbia, and his Latin name is Euphorbia lactea CV white ghost. It's the white ghost Euphorbia. You can see I'm shaping this one into a cacti that is a little bit more elongated. I think you see the pattern. I'm loving elongated cacti. So this one has the tendency to grow in the width, and that means he takes a lot of space. It looks chaotic, and he does not necessarily grow upright, but more like left and right, and eventually a little bit upright. But I want the side pieces to also grow upright and not to the sides. So that's why I'm shaping him a little bit, and I prune this one from time to time. So then I have cuttings, and I will give those away as gifts to friends of mine or to people I know that want them or that collect special plants. This pot I have since 2018, and I really like the look. It's more beaded, and yeah, I really like the kind of brown neutral look. Like, it's not too crazy, and I think with the beautiful white color on the ghost, it's just really nice. Then we go on to a bigger version of the Gymnocalycium mihanovicii. This is kind of the same story as I want to do with the spiralis, because I bought the smaller one 1.5 years before I bought the bigger one. And when I saw the bigger one in a garden center, I thought, oh my god, this base is so big. So eventually, in the long run, this one will appear bigger because the base is bigger. With the same length, if the base is bigger, it will appear bigger. So I bought this one with the mindset of him growing eventually over the years long, and then put this one together with the other one if I find a bigger pot, because I don't have any bigger pots that I find aesthetically pleasing. I have a vision for this one in my head, but it will take a couple of years. I think I will harvest the fruits from this one when I'm old. And then I can say, I'm glad I bought it. The next one I bought without an ID, and so I don't know the ID, and I searched a little bit but I couldn't find it. Maybe if you know, you can leave it down below. First of all, this one has a bud, so it will be flowering soon, I think. But the rest of the cactus is very velvety shining, and he looks very soft, and he also is kind of water repellent, because a lot of the time that's the case with a lot of velvety surfaces. Before I bought this one, I was very doubtful because I didn't want to buy a cactus that was growing slow, and I would not have the patience to be happy with it and be enthusiastic about it. But eventually I bought it because it was €5, and I thought, if this one gives me joy every time I look at it, it's worth the full €5. So I bought it, I took it home, I repotted it. Until that day, I think that's a few months ago, I still love it every time I look at it. I'm still amazed how velvety it looks and how soft yet shiny it looks. I think it has a lot of potential to grow into a great cacti that is velvety. I really love that. I really love that feature. Because this one has a little bit of a bluish hue to it, and he's very velvety, I paired this with a pot that is very colorful with white, because blue and white and sort of velvety goes together, and then the colors made it festive. So the next one is the normal Euphorbia lactea, which is called Dragon Bone. So this one was my first cactus ever. I got him like this small, because in the beginning I didn't like cacti. After a few months I was really debating on giving him away, but then he grew bigger and bigger and larger and larger and longer. And then I thought I really like the elongated look. There's again the theme. But yeah, I kept him, and this one is not the biggest, but the oldest in my collection. He now is in a period where he kind of stands still. A half a year ago the top fell off, because this one fell onto the ground and the top just broke off. Normally the top would grow every week like a new little small light green top, and then the next week would be another. It would add up quickly, and now the new growth is standing kind of still. And this one is in a pot that broke, and I tried to put it back together with clay and gold paint. It does the job kinda. Sometimes if I give it water and it all will fall down the sides, there will be some leakage, but it is holding up pretty nicely. So if it's holding up, it's okay. And I really like this bigger pot because it gives me the desert feeling with the pattern, because it reminds me of the sandy hills. The next one is a small one, and this one is called Cactus articulatus var inermis. This is also called the pine cone cactus, and I think it looks like the papyrus cactus but without his spikes, and I really like the sort of pine coney look of it. And he is kind of gray, silvery, bluish, and not a lot of cacti are those colors. So this one is a small one but a cute one. This planter, the rim and then the beads with those colors remind me of snow. And this one is also grayish, sort of grayish blue. And that also reminds me of snow. So I thought this was a perfect combo together. So the next one is the booby cactus. And as we all know, it has a very long Latin name. Okay, this one is called Myrtlecactus geometrisans. CV Fukurokuriusin Boku. To be honest, this sounds like an anime character. But yeah, this one is the boob cactus or the booby cactus. And I thought this was so awesome because it also has a blue hue to it. I got mine in 2019, and then after half a year he out of nowhere rotted away, so I had to chop him, reroot him, and then because he grew a lot in that half a year, but I had to chop him so he was small again, and then he went longer again, and then he fell when I moved out, so he was chopped in two. The bigger one is the one that rerooted again and has now grown into a full plant, and the smaller one came from the base where the top was broken off. That one is a whole new shoot, and so when he was big enough I put him directly in soil without the base. So eventually the base partially rotted away and partially not, so that's why I decided to put that shoot directly in soil without the base. And I threw the base away because it couldn't be saved, it was too much rot. This pot is, those little pompons do kind of look like boobs, and the blue is for the bluish hue, and also I really like the colors because for me it reminds me every set of boobs is beautiful and all different kind of colors are beautiful. So the next plant is Cactus articulatus var papyraeanthus, and this one is the papyrus cactus. This one was quite big with big spikes, and he went kind of top heavy and grew very chaotic to one side, and I got constantly his spikes in my arm because I got caught up in them. So I chopped him, I rebooted a lot, and then the base stopped growing. Well, half of the cuttings shrunk and the other half rooted. And then the whole base just shriveled up. And so I repotted him. I repotted all the other cuttings, but I couldn't give him enough water because there were too many cuttings. And so because the watering was insufficient, a lot of those rooted cuttings also shriveled up, and then this one was left behind. So this one is the only cutting that survived. It is okay, he is small. He just has to be alive, and I hope this season he will grow. And this pot has the browning. You cannot see them now, but when he will be bigger, sometimes the spikes will be brownish. So that's why I paired this one with this pot. So this one is also one of my favorites. The name is Ceros Forbaceae CV spiralis. The one that I have now is very easy. I have not had pests on it. I have not had problems with it shrinking or something or rot. This one is very easy. But before this one, I had 2 other ones. It wasn't really growing. So the first one I got, I gave that away. The next one I got a very bad infestation of thrips, and that was also at the same time when I got the thrips infestation on my whole plant collection. So yeah, that was a journey, and eventually I decided to throw that away because I couldn't get rid of the thrips. And then this was the third one I got, and I have this one I think almost 3 years now, and this one is very happy. He's also in a planter that reminds me of the desert, and so desert collection is complete. The next one is an Euphorbia aeruginosa, and this one was I think 8 times as big as this cutting is. This was also one of the plants I had from the beginning. And he was very big. He almost looked like a bush. He was eventually too big to leave him here, so I had to cut him down. And when I was cutting him down, I didn't like the look of him because all the growth was so compact to each other that it didn't look good. So I cut off the whole plant. The shooting was sideways, so it was like this. So I had to train him to kind of stand like this, and when he did that on his own, and I faced him like this way, so every time the sun shines he will perk up a little bit, so he will lean up that way, so he will eventually be straight. So with this pot I got kind of a salsa vibe, so I wanted to pair this one with that one because I thought it was fun. The next one is also a smaller one, and that one is called Euphorbia melliformis variegata. And I don't like the yellow variegation on cacti, but in photos this one, when it gets older, looks white. So I'm hoping when he gets taller, the older growth will slowly turn into creamish white variegation. And I'm fine with waiting because I paired it with this pot, and this pot has yellow green in it, and it pairs perfectly with this yellow greenish plant. So the last one I got, and this one is a big one, is Euphorbia ingus CV marmorata. This one also has a story. It was one long piece. It was already a big cactus, and I pulled him out of the van. He fell over because the wind was so strong, and so he broke. I rerouted the piece that broke off. He grew 6 new shoots. I chopped every piece off and I rerouted it, and I put it back in the soil. Also, this one is with white variegation. I know there's another one with yellow variegation. I got a rescue cutting 4 or 5 years ago, but that one didn't make it. It didn't grow roots and it constantly rotted away. As I already said, I don't really like the ones with yellow variegation, so I'm really glad I have this one, and I'm really glad it is growing well. And this pot is not really special. I put him in this pot because this was the biggest terracotta pot I had. And I wanted to give the cuttings a lot of room to grow new roots. But after that I never repotted it. And I have not come across a pot this size or a bigger pot with a lot of decorations or nice vibes. So he is just still in this pot. Before I go, I know that a lot of Euphorbia will officially classify under succulents. That's why I said my cacti and succulents. But they look so much like cacti, and I'm so used to saying cacti. So yeah, this was the video. I hope you liked it, and if you did, smash the subscribe button and like button. And let me know down in the comments below if you have a favorite from my collection or you recognize some you also have. So yeah, I will see you in the next video. Doei!